I'm Robin Hoffman. I'm a public artist here in Charlottesville, and some people want to know, what's a public artist? Well, public artist is somebody who can go just about anywhere and set up by using this portable easel. This easel is good for putting on tables. You can set it up just for a tabletop, or you can set it up with its legs. And its legs have different screws and butterfly screws and things like that that enable it to open up. And in this instance, I'm going to be working on the table. And the reason why I'm working on a table today is because I just feel like I need to be at a certain level of the landscape. And that's number one. A public artist can be somebody who paints in different topographies. And you have to, if you want to do it in different topographies or different types of landscape, be it the rivers or the woods or whatever, you want to have different equipment. This tabletop easel, which as I open it up, it has various angles of where you can put your easel. And also it has the benefit of the folding legs. So if I wanted to walk across this topography, which happens to be the Meadowlands in Lenert, New Jersey. And here I am. Oh my goodness.
A portable artist.
So Jeff, this is such a surprise.
Well, hello.
What are you doing in Lenert, New Jersey?
I am from the mothership.
Oh my goodness.
I was born in Clifton, New Jersey. I make my way back. I've got family in the mothership.
This is incredible.
So that's the first question everybody in Charlottesville is, when did you move here from New Jersey?
Well, before the first question, here's the question that probably I'm curious about is, what are you doing here today? And I have a reason that I want to paint this topography.
Okay.
This actually is the area where the Meadowlands Environmental Center is. Mm-hmm. And that actually was developed in 2000.
Okay.
But before that, in 1970, in fact, New Jersey was the first EPA.
The EPA.
The Environmental Protection Act.
Uh-huh.
Or the place where they started making regulations about waste and where to put waste.
Perhaps it was overdue.
Yeah, but 1970.
It's a long time ago. Yes,
what
indeed.
happened was what you said, was the population explosion. And then all of a sudden there were fires because of the waste. If it's piled up, it's explosive.
Did you know New Jersey is the most densely populated state in the entire United States?
No, I didn't. More than Florida?
Well, Florida is the newlywed and the nearly dead, right? But New Jersey is the most densely populated per mile, more people living per square mile in New Jersey than any other state in the Union.
Well, in this particular Meadowlands Observation Center was built in 2000 so that people could use the leach matter, the substance that's like a mud, and then the rock, and then mud and rock again. And they built, actually, what we're sitting on is a park.
Well, I will tell you, I love water. I love fresh water especially. I'm not a big ocean guy.
Yes.
But I am a river guy, and I am a pond and lake guy. The ocean scares me a little bit, quite honestly. But I love to fish, and anything that sort of protects the habitat that allows me and my children and other people's children to go out and enjoy the outdoors, I'm all for.
Well, yeah, but the reason why I was interested in this area especially is because of what we have right now in Charlottesville and some other cities, which is what do we do with all the waste when we get a more populated environment? And this particular place, they came up with a solution. The place where the river meets New York and New Jersey has been cleaned by this system throughout the park was built on top of that.
One of my first memories.
Yes.
And I don't know if I've ever told this story, but one of my first memories is when my grandfather, who lived in Manasquan, New Jersey, and he worked in Manhattan, so we jumped on the train every morning. He took my cousin Jay and I to New York City one day, our first trip to Manhattan. This must have been in the early 70s. And he took us on the Circle Line tour, which you jump on a boat and you go around the island of Manhattan. And I remember the Hudson River just being filled with trash.
Yes.
And if memory serves, there was, if not raw sewage, barely processed sewage, flowing into the Hudson River. And that was one of the first memories I ever had. And now, as a grown adult who likes to take my wife and I like to take our children back to Manhattan as we have family, it really is amazing how clean that river has become. It's simply a credit to projects like this and to all the things that they've done to alleviate the pollution. We haven't done enough, but we certainly have done some.
Well, I mean, to consider that they've been working on what to do since 1970 at least, and that there is the LEED, that is the certification to begin with, but also the platinum, the gold standard and all that. Different cities have adopted it and built certain structures like Pittsburgh or whatever. They have a botanical garden there that's platinum.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and what does that mean? Like in Charlottesville, we have structures also that they're building toward, certification at least, and so we have certain structures here as well.
You would think that'd be sort of easy to get consensus with here in Charlottesville, as we're a very sort of socially active and environmental sort of conscious area, especially with sort of the pipeline things that they're trying to push through just south of here or just west of here. It's I think it would be pretty easy for us to be able to get consensus around that.
Do you think that there is?
I like that blue, by the way. That's a very pretty blue.
I'm going to explain that in a minute.
Okay.
Do you think that there is a certain, like if, God forbid, you have cancer, or if you have a virus or whatever, all of a sudden you're concerned, where here, unless you get infected from the river, or you get some kind of fungus among us or something like that, or you can't drink your water. It sometimes gets to that point because, right? Like,
sure.
Like, we're watching baseball, for instance. There's a whole lot of people that don't know anything about how they get to the bases or how they even get to the World Series. And they get to the World Series after a whole bunch of 180 days of stress, if not year-round, right? But we don't realize what nature does in such a short period. We're only on Earth, 100 years, each of us, and then we only see things through our eyes.
Sure.
But nature is a continuum.
I think the arrogance of humanity is never ending. We think we are the be-all and end-all, and we're able to take from the environment whatever we deem necessary at the time without replacing it. And I just, as the father of two children, I just can't in good conscience do that, knowing I'm going to leave the planet a worse place than I found it. So
it's more important, I think, that you realize also that it probably didn't occur to you when you were a kid. And now the kids now are realizing it, right? Okay, so now I'm doing this painting, and as I always talk about paintings and how you were talking about the colors, I always start with primary colors, because primary colors, which means that it's a pure blue. It doesn't have any white in it or whatever other color, green or whatever. There's no yellow in it. That's how you start. In nature, everything starts really for you is the sky. So,
You know, I think the last time I saw you doing art,
yes,
it's hard for me. I'm a radio guy, right?
Yes.
So I interview people on the radio. So you're turning the tables on me, and I'm the subject of the interview, and it's hard for me not to interview you. So this is it's a good lesson for me. The last time I saw you doing painting was, I believe, at the Back to School Bash in August. And you were down at the Sprint Pavilion with us, and you were giving all the children that would come up, I think, caricatures, or you were painting them for them. I thought that was very nice and kind of you to do.
Okay, so I explained to many people that I am a public artist. So what it means is that I, as opposed to a person who may have a particular niche, I work with a lot of mediums, a lot of different materials, and also in different capacities. Like, there's artists who work solely in their studio at home or another place.
Right.
And then I personally feel like I need somebody to feed me. I need to have input to make my art. Because right now especially, I feel like, and this is very personal. I mean, there are, for instance, people, I don't know, you know people all the time you interview who do work and for years and years and years, and then they all of a sudden realize what they're doing and who they are in that capacity.
It makes sense to them. I had a sculptor, my friend Jay one time was sculpting a piece of balsa wood, and I said, Jay, what are you making? And he says, I don't know yet. It hasn't shown me what it is yet. And just I am envious and jealous of people like you who just have that just creativity to just, you're not really sure where you're headed, but you know you're going somewhere, and then all of a sudden the finish line dawns on you, and it's a piece of art that is lovely.
So, well, not necessarily, but the thing is too, is the motivation for me to put some more material. By the way, I use all repurposed stuff. This is from a dumpster, this piece of masonite, and I use it and I collect it as people are building, and it's very interesting because since I've been here since 2006, there's been periods where they built and then they stop, like especially near where I used to live near Rio in the Carlsbrook area. And then I moved in 2013. I moved to the city.
I did the opposite, actually. I lived in the city until my wife and I started having kids, and then we had to move out to the county to be able to afford a house that was sizable enough to take us. But we live just in the outer ring, and our kids are in city schools, and we love it. I love Charlottesville.
Yeah.
I know you do too. I see you all the time.
Well, I just have nothing better to do. No.
Didn't to see me? Thanks.
No, seriously, it's that you're right about that. I try to leave, and then I go somewhere, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to stay here, and then I come back on 29 or whatever it's called, and 66, and see the Blue Ridge, and I'm like, I really like it here. And so that's what keeps me coming back. And then it's the people like yourself, you're putting yourself out there. There's very many cities where it takes years you're a young man and you put yourself out there for everybody's benefit. I mean, first of all, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have a good Saturday. I wouldn't have a good Sunday for sure. And during the week, I wouldn't know what was going on because you have the only progressive radio station.
Yeah, we tried to. When we started the radio station, it was interesting because, certain other political persuasions have this entire media delivery system, and the progressives really had no place to go to get news from like Democracy Now, places that I believe one of Democracy Now's things is they run toward the darkness. They run to the silence. They run where no one's covering. And the stories like that of of what's going on, and when you find great, it's not the human suffering so much, it's the people's resiliency to the human suffering and their ability to overcome all of the cards being stacked against them, and rise up and make great art and make great decisions. I love that.
You're talking about New Jersey and all that, and when I was growing up, we were very homogenous. We had white people. That was it, and there was nothing good to eat. And then all of a sudden, thank goodness, my mom moved us to Brooklyn so we could get free education. So I went to Brooklyn College for free, paid by grants, but also people. And so I had the best art teachers because they were New York artists. They were getting big bucks. And then I went to NYU because of that. I was able to work because I was in a city and that sort of thing. But what I want to say about all that is that here in Charlottesville, I look forward to having a public radio or a public TV station where you are able to explore ideas.
Yeah,
you know, if you stay in the same place all the time and you say the same things all the time, you know, it's so boring.
Nothing frustrates me, and I think all political persuasions are guilty of this, is they just talk into an echo chamber. And I don't want to be a part of that echo chamber. I want to be a common marketplace of ideas. And you know when I moved to town, where the first place I lived was? That's a weird segue, but it was in this building. It was in York Place. I lived upstairs in number 9. So this is like coming to see you. It's like coming over here to where I feel like I grew up in this building.
Okay, I've been working on this painting now. It looks like a lot of colors. Nature is like people's ideas, I think, is that it's ever changing and it should be changing. You know, people have ideas based on their experiences. If we don't clean up our rivers and all that sort of stuff, we will all be in a lot of trouble, right? And so we need people to think about how nature works and how it doesn't work. If we don't listen to nature and we don't study it and we don't share experiences and that sort of thing, and if there's no place to do that, and because of your radio station, we do have a place to do that, right?
You do. If you, you know, it was funny.
So you have, for instance, you have different scientists. You have different, all sorts of.
It's amazing. Thanks to the University of Virginia, we're able to access a lot of really highly specifically trained, wonderful individuals. I think this last Sunday, Dan Gould interviewed the head of IT security, IT and technology security for the University of Virginia. And she was phenomenal. The good news is Dan Gould is a computer engineer, so he knew the right questions to ask. But you look at the show on paper and you're like, well, I don't know what the IT security expert is going to be able to lend to our station. And then you listen to her, and she was able to break it down and talk to all of us about what exactly she did. And I think that was a phenomenally well-produced show. It's something I'm very proud of.
Well, here's the other thing, is that everything is accessible. For instance, I was at the Miller Center the other day, and I was listening to pundits and people and, you know, just about every walk of life, lawyers, attorneys, talking about different policies that are in place and how our government works and how we're going to proceed in certain acts and things like that. And my question to everybody at the end, I was like the last question, was, you know, as an observer, as an artist or whatever, is what about our children? You know, of all things that we do in life, we want to leave a legacy, right? So that the kids can go to school and not feel that the school, you know, that they have to hide and all that kind of stuff. We also want, you know, the kids to be able to drink their water in the schools and not fear cancer and that sort of thing. But it takes people to pay attention, and then everybody has a role to play.
It takes people. So I just had an idea.
Yes.
Sitting here talking to you,
Yes.
and I want to thank you for formulating this idea. Talking about the Miller Center and other places.
Yes.
They're sort of like think tanks. You know, people go there and they have great ideas and postulate great things. I want to have a do tank. I want to have a group of people that actually get out and do stuff. And that's one of the things that I'm proud of is I'm able to. The city has afforded me the opportunity to go out in the community and actually affect change. The city is small enough to where you can't take 10 steps down the mall without seeing somebody you either know or recognize, but it's also big enough and progressive enough to have the services available and the opportunities available for people to overcome sort of the obstacles, and hopefully we'll be able to overcome some of the institutional racism and be able to really develop as a great city that leads. You know, one thing I think about Charlottesville, and I'm just again formulating this idea, is I think we are 6 months to a year ahead of the rest of the country as it comes to sort of race relations and the ability for people of different ethnicities, people of different colors, different sexes, different sexual orientations to come together and actually have constructive dialogue. And I think we're heading in that direction, and I think the country's lagging behind us, but it's lagging behind us 6 months to a year. And I think we are in Charlottesville a petri dish of what is coming for our country, and that's not always a great thought, but it's not always a bad thought either.
Okay, you're going way ahead of me.
Way off, I understand.
Why? Because you have heard so many good things. But what I want to say is, why are we here in the Meadowlands?
Why are we here in the Meadowlands? Because I love water.
That's exactly right.
Because I was raised, I had a pond in my backyard when I was growing up, and I just always went out and grabbed a fishing pole and went out and caught a couple of fish, and that's what I did to unwind and what I did to enjoy myself.
Okay, but why are we in the Meadowlands in New Jersey?
Because that's where I'm from. Because we're here for a Giants game.
Okay, my point of view is that we're here because we're talking about people like what you just explained. It's so cool.
Have the forethought.
No, it's so cool that I knew this was what the conversation was going to be. Because you do things. You don't just talk about it. Like how you made your radio station. Well, that in itself is, first of all, a treasure in the city.
Thank you very much.
But
it means a lot.
Yeah, it means a lot to me. I mean, seriously, I probably would go back to New York if it wasn't for people like yourself.
Don't put that weight on me.
No, because you are participating.
We are, thank you. And it's not just me. We've got about 40 volunteers, sometimes upwards of 50 volunteers. We, some are Spanish speakers, some, love the electronic dance music, some love the progressive politics, some are, libertarians or leaning conservative, and we,
Exactly.
And we will put anyone's idea on.
Ideas. Exactly.
The only rule I try to have, rules are such a hard word. What I try to emulate is you can disagree without being disagreeable.
Right. Okay, stop right there. That's exactly right. And here's why I'm saying that, because I got to finish this painting real fast. But what I want to say to you is that's exactly why we need free speech, radio, and TV. It's that if we don't, we're going to be controlled by somebody.
Right.
It doesn't matter if they're good or bad. Who wants to be controlled by anybody, right? So what I'm asking you at this point is to continue trying very hard to keep that as an alternative to being told what to do and not being able to share ideas. Is that I think both of us are on the same page, that we know that ideas don't necessarily have to be right or wrong. That we can have ideas that we're able to share. And at this point, I've got to finish this painting. It's the rule. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to sign my name right here.
So we've got 40 seconds. The greatest ideas never came from when someone said, I don't think we can do that. Okay? The greatest ideas always came from dreamers, from artists, from creators. I think we can find a better way.
All right, stop. We are stopping. I want to say goodbye. I want to say thank you very much. And this is a wrap.